Welcome to our first two teachings on God's will is to still heal you. I hope you can study the scriptures and see for yourself that God is still your healer. And I want you to know Jehovah Rapha, the God who is our healer. In Exodus 12 and verse 1, it starts like this. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbour next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood, and they shall strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper door post of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the puritans thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and the staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses wherein ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. In this book of Exodus, we learn a lot about God. God reveals who he is to us, and he reveals he is a God who is faithful, and he always keeps his promises. In this book we see Israel emerge as a nation. God is showing the whole world through this one small nation that those who follow him will walk in the supernatural. God elected the nation of Israel to show us himself. Through Moses, God led the children of Israel out of slavery and bondage. He was revealing the redemptive story through how that he dealt with Israel. Some commentators believe that there could have been between 2 and 6 million men, women and children led out of the land of Egypt. And these people were not all Israelites, because many of the Egyptians came with them. Because of Israel's disobedience to God, God brought them into the desert for 40 years. And it was in the desert that God revealed to them and to us how he wants us to live as people of God. He gave his people the law in the 10 Commandments. God established himself as Israel's God and them as his people. Like all relationships, there are certain tensions. If Israel held to their agreement that they had made with God, then all is well. But if they do not, then there are consequences. The children of Israel walked in health when they were in the desert. There was not one sick person among them. As the Israelites ate the Passover lamb, they were healed in their bodies. This was one of the biggest mass healings in the Bible. And Psalm 105 and verse 37 says, he brought them forth also with silver and gold. There was not one feeble person among their tribes. Not even the old people were sick, because God made a promise to the people in Exodus 23 and 25. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. And as long as the people followed God, they didn't get sick. But we do know that they did sin, and they brought the sickness and plagues on themselves. And then they would repent. And then God would start all over again with them and be their healer. Exodus 15 and 26, I am the Lord that healeth thee. You see, God never took that promise away from Israel. That promise stands until the end of time. When the Israelites came out of the desert, if they followed the Lord, they were healthy because of God's promises. That generation that came out of the desert, they had no experience of the world. They had never been to a doctor because God was their healer. The older generation had died in the desert because of their rebellion against God. And this generation of people that came out of the desert were to show the world, that's Satan's world, God is my healer. And because he is my healer, I don't be sick, but I walk in divine health. And that is why the way God intended his people to live in health and prosperity. In the Old Testament, anyone who was sick went to the priest because it was spiritual. Sickness is because of sin in the world. And that is why the root of all sickness is spiritual. The other nations had their priest, and he acted spiritual, and he used medicines to heal certain things. And as knowledge progressed in the world, the Israelites moved away from God as their healer and started to depend on their own knowledge and understanding of medicine. The ungodly priests became physicians. And that is why when you hear of someone going to Baal, we automatically think it's another god. And in a way it is. But they were going to their priest, what we call a doctor or a physician. They had some skills in medicine and to heal some diseases. They even had a form of godliness. But because it was spiritual, a lot of the people died. So let's fast forward to 2 Kings 1 and 1. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Ahaziah fell down to a lattice in his upper chamber, that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers, and he said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. Ahaziah fell and hurt himself until the point that he was worried and he thought he was going to die. Things had got serious for him, and that is why he sent to inquire from the priests of Ekron. He was going to the world for answers to his sickness. But the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel, that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore, thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And Ahaziah had left the one true God to go to the world's system. And God said he was going to die because the people he was going to had no power to heal him, because it was spiritual. That is all we have for time for today in this program. I will have a second teaching tomorrow on the same subject. God's will is to still heal you. Read the scriptures that we have read in today's lesson and let them speak to you, and ask God to help you see his will on healing. Jehovah Rapha, the God who is our healer.